So, the inevitable question that you'll have here is, and it's a good one, is why are we using Flash CS5 when even in Web 101, one of the things I pretty consistently stated was that Flash is dead. That much is true for web design. That much is true for, building websites for modern web browsers and modern web devices, right? So if we're on like an iPad or an iPhone or an Android device, there are no Android tablets. Really, we would prefer not to see Flash there. So why should we use Flash to talk about multimedia in the web? The following is also true, is that was my opinion and what's supported. Now, when we go back and we talk to our community partners here at Rock Valley College, right? So every time it is that I have an advisory committee meeting or any of those kinds of things, or I talk with some of our manufacturing partners who do a lot of the hiring that we see, they invariably tell me that they are still using old copies of Flash to help update and maintain their applications internally. So even if it isn't for the web, they're doing it for internal applications, or they're doing it for web-based applications for the web. I mean, clearly, right? So, for example, just today, this is not an exaggeration. Literally the same day it is that I'm recording this very podcast is we had noticed that for our CIS 102, the Intro to Computers and Information Systems, in working with that system, the My IT Lab system, there are still Flash-based components baked right into their platform. Pearson, who owns My IT Lab, actually owns the New York Stock Exchange. We have this tendency to think of them as a little academic company. They are a tremendously large company. So they are still using Flash occasionally. Yahoo.com, which again somehow has reclaimed the web's most visited site crown. Yahoo still publishes some of their content. Now, not the content you're going to see necessarily all the time every day, but some of their interactive media content is actually still done using Flash and Animate. So really, in order to kind of help bridge what our community partners are seeing and what it is that we can offer you, we are still going with CS5. That's one reason. Number two, another reason to use CS5 is to help maintain and minimize the costs for this class. What I can tell you is the textbook that we are using, New Perspectives Flash CS5, is so old that you can get it for essentially a nickel. Right? The shipping actually costs you, in some cases, depending upon where you look, more than what the book will cost you. Depending on how your comfort level is with this, I may or may not have provided you with a Google Books link that is the entire text for free if you do not want, to pay for the text, and if you're comfortable with using a browser-based solution for everything. There you go. There's no additional or almost no additional cost to that. On the third front, this is absolutely true, is that I always assume that the penalty or the burden it is that we want to put on your systems should be at a minimum. That's why I don't like having students install Visual Studio, because Visual Studio will kill a capable laptop and it will absolutely slaughter an old quasi-capable laptop. Flash Creative Cloud, or Animate rather, Creative Cloud, so it's called Animate CC. That's the newest, essentially the newest version of the software. Flash CS6, which is the one upgraded version of CS5, will absolutely murder a good, capable system. You cannot see me pointing at it right now, but I am pointing at my Surface Book, which has a very capable processor. It has acceptably capable RAM, and the Adobe Creative Suite Cloud Manager, just that one piece of software has completely and totally crippled its ability to feel fast. What I do not want to do is be the reason that your 2 or 3 or 5-year-old laptop or desktop that was humming along just fine before this class, I do not want to be the reason that that machine is dead at the end of 3 weeks or unstable and unusable at the end of 3 weeks. What I have for you in the Eagle Course Shell is an instruction set on how to get the Adobe Cloud Manager, no big deal, and how to download previous versions of software. You can download for your trial period, instead of Animate CC, you can download Flash CS5, which will have a far smaller footprint on your machine, and it will not carry with it the same kind of penalty that installing Animate CC will have on your machines. Flash CS5 had a much smaller footprint. It did not essentially poison your registry with a bunch of useless stuff that will never come out. So I just feel like still to date, CS5 represents the last of the software that you can install that will not completely and criminally destroy your machine, whatever your PC or your Mac is that you're using here to do the homework. And very lastly, what I'll tell you also is the software itself between CS5, CS6, and what we would see now, which is Adobe Animate CC. There's almost no difference in the style, in the functionality, in anything as far as the differences there are concerned. What I'll tell you is Adobe Flash CS5 is the last of the software that used a white background with a dark foreground. The big difference between Animate CC and Flash CS5 is that they have changed that to a more modern dark background, light foreground. That's it. The tools are the same. The vocabulary is the same. The actions are the same. The output is the same. The impact, however, is lower. And you know what? I'm okay to have you make those sacrifices. So why CS5 is for all of those reasons. And later on, after you get a foothold in here and you get the opportunity to get through the first couple of chapters, I'll actually show you how you can package the products that you're creating instead of as an SWF, a Shockwave Flash, an Adobe Flash file. You can actually have CS5 package everything for you as an HTML5, CSS, and JavaScript product. So essentially, there's no penalty in using ancient software like this. And actually, what you're going to find out in the industries, which we keep getting reminded of when we talk to our community partners, is, hey, these old products are actually still being used because it is far less cost for us in the long run than moving to the Adobe Creative Cloud. So, frankly, I'm happy to have us do the very same thing.